Aloha everyone. So it's now been over 22 months since the fire in Lahaina, and today looks like a nice clear day to get the drone up in the air and give you all another aerial update of the progress that's being made in Lahaina's recovery. Just from driving around town, it looks like there's a lot of new houses that have started construction, but as you can see behind me, the commercial areas on Front Street have not even started to rebuild yet. Let's go see what the progress looks like from the air.
As I always do in these videos, we're going to start on the far south end of Lahaina town in the Puamana area. I have released several drone updates of Lahaina since the fire, and I do try to keep them consistent so you can easily compare the progress from one video to the next. The path we will take is going to follow the coastline from the south end of Lahaina to the north end before we circle back a little bit further inland so you can see the whole town. We'll also take a separate flight that will follow Lahainaluna Road all the way up to the top of the burn zone and back down the hill following the Kahoma stream. I'll provide timestamps in the description below in case you want to jump to the areas that are of most interest to you, but to get the full update, you will want to watch the entire video. We're now coming up on the start of the area that was impacted by the fire here in the Puamana neighborhood. The buildings in this townhome community that were not impacted by the fire are being occupied once again. However, I don't see any evidence of rebuilding starting here yet. Okay. We're now coming up on the far south end of Front Street and entering into a single-family home neighborhood. This is where we're going to start to see some of the residential structures being rebuilt. So let's go over some of the permitting and rebuild statistics that are shown on the Maui Recovers website. As of June 9th, 2025, there have been 384 residential permits issued. And out of those 384 that have been issued, 21 residential buildings have been completed. In addition to the 384 that have already been issued, there's another 179 residential permits that are being processed at this time. You will notice that there isn't any rebuilding happening on the ocean side of Front Street. We covered that topic in more detail in a previous video, but the bottom line is the properties on the mountain side of Front Street were given an exemption of the spatial management area permitting requirements, but the oceanside properties appear to still be at a stalemate. Coming up on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see the Lahaina Shores mid-rise building that's right on the beachfront. Some really good news is that Lahaina Shores plans to be open to occupancy once again in just a few weeks, starting in July. Several condos at Lahaina Shores have already been sold this year, and there are a few that are still available. I'll drop a link in the description below to the current listings at Lahaina Shores in case you're curious to see what's currently available for yourself. I do plan to release a separate video that focuses just on the Lahaina real estate market in a few weeks. Of course, it's still a sensitive subject, but it definitely deserves some attention. Okay, we're now flying right over the top of the Lahaina Harbor and heading in the direction of the Banyan Tree. The Banyan Tree has become a symbol of Lahaina's resilience after the fire, so I recorded a separate flight that circles the tree to give you a full perspective of how the tree is doing almost 2 years after the fire. Now, before the fire, the banyan tree's branches extended almost all the way to Front Street. So, as you can see, a big portion of the tree did not survive the fire and had to be removed. But the portion that does remain is nice and green and appears to be thriving. Okay, continuing on with our flight heading north, we're now coming back over the top of Front Street and flying over the area that held the Wharf Cinema Center. The Wharf was home to restaurants like Captain Jack's, Cool Cats Cafe, and Down the Hatch. Both Captain Jack's and Cool Cats Cafe have reopened their restaurants in different locations on Maui. As I had mentioned at the beginning of the video, this commercial portion of Front Street has been cleared of ash and debris, but it hasn't started to rebuild yet. This is the area where they just finished removing the pilings that supported the buildings on the coastline, and it still has not yet been opened to the public or local traffic. As much as I'm pleased to see so many residential homes being rebuilt already, I have to admit that I am disappointed with the progress in the rebuild of Lahaina's businesses after almost 2 years. I understand that the priority is rebuilding people's homes, but this will be a critical step in the town's recovery. That being said, I'm curious to hear what you think about the progress we've seen so far. Let me know in the comment section below how long you think it will take to rebuild most of the town, including its businesses. We're now flying over the outlets of Maui and coming up on the Lahaina United Methodist Church, where you can still see the stairs that led to the church prior to the fire. This is the intersection at Front Street and Baker Street. On the other side of that is the Channel House and Lahaina residential condominium complexes, and we just flew right over the top of the historic building, the U.S. Seamen's Hospital Museum. We're now entering the Baby Beach area. On the far right-hand side of the screen, you can see Kahoma Village. We're going to fly over Kahoma Village later in the video, and I can show you the progress in the townhomes that are being built there. As you can see, there are several people out enjoying Baby Beach on this beautiful day in Lahaina. One major update that won't be shown visually in this video, but is definitely worth mentioning, is that the county, in partnership with federal agencies, will begin to transport the ash and debris from the temporary dump site in Olawalu to the permanent dump site that's located next to the Central Maui landfill. This work has already started on June 16th, and it's anticipated to take around 5 months, with 50 trucks making multiple trips during daylight hours, 7 days a week. This is a huge project and a promise fulfilled from the county to the residents of Olawalu that their dump site would be temporary. They'll be relocating approximately 400,000 tons of debris, which is the equivalent of 5 football fields stacked 5 stories high. The county is advising people traveling to and from West Maui to expect slower than usual traffic while the debris is being removed. We're now flying over the portion of Front Street that survived the fire, starting with the old Lahaina Lua on the ocean side, the Cannery Mall on the mountain side, and several restaurants like Mala, Honu, and the brand new Coco Deck Lahaina open for business here in this area. We're now getting back into the more residential area on Front Street, and you'll see that there are a few homes that are being built in this area, but we will see a whole lot more progress once we get up into the Wahikuli and Lahainaluna neighborhoods. On the left-hand side of the screen, you see the Lahaina Roads condominium building on the oceanfront. Lahaina Roads is scheduled to finally reopen to its residents and owners on June 16th, after completing extensive repairs that included damaged concrete and burned utilities. This is another great sign of progress for Lahaina. Okay, from here, we're going to jump across the highway and into the Wahikuli neighborhood. This is where we'll start to see a higher concentration of homes being rebuilt. By the way, if you appreciate the time and effort it takes to put these updates together, please take a second to hit the like button. I do get a lot of feedback from people with strong ties to Lahaina that say they rely on my updates to stay informed on our progress. I truly appreciate everyone's support, and I try to release at least one aerial update every 2 months. As long as people appreciate them, I'll keep making them. The next full update will be released around the 2-year anniversary of the fire, which is another huge milestone. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so you don't miss out on any updates. We're now coming to the end of the burn zone in the northerly direction, so we'll spin around and start heading back a little bit further up the hillside this time. From here, you can also see the temporary housing sites provided by FEMA and the state of Hawaii that are located right above the old neighborhood. Another big piece of news for Lahaina and Maui in general is that last week, the Housing and Land Use Committee held public testimony on the highly controversial vacation rental phase-out bill. Overflow crowds turned out to either support or oppose the proposed phase-out of more than 6,000 short-term rental condos on Maui that have legally operated in apartment zoning for decades. I covered that topic in several previous videos, but it's worth mentioning here too. Those in favor of the phase-out believe it will lead to more affordable housing, while those against it, like myself, think it's more likely to create job losses that will force even more local residents off the island, and will do little to nothing to actually improve the affordability of housing. More than 180 people signed up to testify, and when the meeting ended, only 52 had a chance to speak, so they will continue the public testimony this week. And based on how far they got on the first day, I wouldn't be surprised if they need at least one more additional day to hear all the testimony. After the Housing and Land Use Committee completes the public testimony, the bill advances to the full Maui County Council for even more hearings before any decisions are made. So this process will take some time before we get any clarity. If you want to dive into more detail on that topic, check out some of my other recent videos. Okay, from here we're going to jump back across the highway and continue our path north. We're going to fly right over the top of the Cannery Mall, and you'll see coming up here that some of the commercial projects that were under construction for the last several months are now complete, including a brand new Bank of Hawaii building that's located right on the Kahoma Stream. On the other side of the Kahoma Stream is my old neighborhood, Kahoma Village. Most of the properties in Kahoma Village survived the fire, but we did lose several townhome buildings that are surrounding the park. As you can see, construction on the rebuild of those townhome buildings has started, and from the air, they look like they're pretty close to completion. Okay, from here, we're going to jump ahead a little ways, and we'll start a new flight where we're going to follow Lahainaluna Road all the way up the hillside into the Lahainaluna Neighborhood. Starting from the coastline, we're now flying over the area that held restaurants like Kimo's, Cheeseburger in Paradise, and the Lahaina Yacht Club. We're about to fly past the location of the Plantation Inn, and we're coming up on the intersection of Lahainaluna Road and Waine'e Street. On the left-hand side of the screen, you see an empty lot where the Lahaina Square Shopping Center was prior to the fire. It looks like there's a lot of activity there, so I'm not sure if they're going to be starting construction soon or if it's just staging. We're now coming up on the old Pioneer Mill smokestack, and just past the smokestack is the area where they collected burnt cars and broke down the large pieces of concrete from the ash and debris removal. As you can see, the area has been completely cleaned up now. We're now entering into the Lahainaluna neighborhood, and as you'll see, this is another area where there's a higher concentration of homes being rebuilt. It has been a very dry year so far on Maui, with less rain than usual. So we aren't seeing a lot of green landscaping around the new homes yet. But I do hope that by the end of this year, we start to see more green vegetation and less red dirt and gray gravel from the air when I'm doing these drone updates. Okay, we're now approaching the highest point that was affected by the fire, so we're going to turn around and head back down the hillside. This time, we're going to follow the Kahoma stream. Straight ahead and on the other side of the stream, you see another mid-rise building, and that building is an affordable apartment complex that was lost during the fire, but is now nearly complete with reconstruction. We're now flying over Como Mai Street, which is in the Kahoma Homes neighborhood, and across the stream from here is where the Emerald Plaza commercial area is. As you can see, there are a lot of new homes being built here. This is actually an area where Habitat for Humanity's Maui division helped to build affordable homes. Okay, straight ahead on the left-hand side of the stream is the Opukea at Lahaina condominium complex. And on the right-hand side of the stream is the Hoonanea condominium complex. We'll fly over both to get a better perspective. As you can see, Hoonanea had some buildings that survived the fire and some buildings that were lost. But it looks like they have the construction fences up and are getting ready to start rebuilding those townhomes. You can see that it's the same story on the other side of the stream at Opukea. Some buildings survived while others were lost, but we see that construction fences are already up and it looks like they might be forming for footings already. Okay, we're now flying over Limahana Place and the area that held Mind's Eye Interior and the Pizza Hut and Taco Bell building. Other businesses in this area that you might recognize would be the pawn shop and the Sly Mongoose. At the end of the road in the cul-de-sac is where they had the Sugarcane Train food truck park, and this is also the area that held Kohala Brewery before the fire. Okay, now we're going to jump back across the highway once again, picking up where we left off at Lahainaluna Road. Right now we're flying over where the Spinnaker condominium complex was located prior to the fire, and the building with the bright red roof is the Maria Lanakila Catholic Church. Just past the church is where the Aina Nalu condominium complex was prior to the fire. And on the right-hand side of the screen, you see a large square rock wall, which is actually made out of coral. This is where the old Lahaina Prison Museum was prior to the fire. This is where we're going to end the flight. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more updates, and share the video with anyone you know who cares about Lahaina. I hope to see you all in the next one. Aloha.